You are listening to the Intelligent Vocalist Podcast, episode 115.
Welcome to the Intelligent Vocalist with John Henny. This is the podcast dedicated to help you be a smarter, better, more informed singer. And now, your host for the Intelligent Vocalist, John Henny.
Hey there, this is John Henny. Welcome back to another episode of The Intelligent Vocalist. I do so appreciate you spending your precious listening time with me. Okay, I've just a couple quick announcements. I am super excited about my upcoming book. It is at the editor's right now. I'm waiting to get it probably middle of this month. I'll get his corrections back. Then I'm going to be looking for test readers. The tentative title of the book is Voice Teacher Influencer. So if you are a voice teacher, a music teacher, you could even apply this as an artist, but I'm really focusing on voice teachers. If you want to learn how to grow your influence, expand your studio, start creating content that's going to lead to customers for your online products and getting passive income, I wrote this book for you. So if you would like to be a test reader, go to my website, johnhenny.com, and sign up for my email list. I give opportunities like this to my email list. I also have special offers that I make to my email list. I try and show my email list some extra special attention. I also let them know when there's a new podcast, etc. They're the first to know about new product, all those fun things. So go there. You can see where to sign up for my email list, and please do. And please make sure to mark that you want to receive marketing emails from me. Not that I market that heavy, but I like to have your permission. Don't want to annoy anyone. All right. Today, I am really excited to have Liz Hill on the podcast. Now, Liz has been a student of mine for quite some time, and she is one of the hardest working people and most focused students I've ever worked with. She is gifted. Liz is highly organized. She's crazy intelligent, and she has harnessed all of her gifts to really be a success at just about any musical goals that she focuses her gaze on. As we talk, you'll see that she actually had a record deal here in LA. She got on the Billboard charts, charted quite highly, actually. I think she had a top 10 dance track. And then she moved to Nashville to pursue her music career and also decided to get into voiceovers. And her voiceover career has literally exploded. As she will tell you, she has purchased a horse farm from her voiceover income. I mean, this is amazing. And she primarily works from home, although when I talked to her on this podcast, she was on her phone in her car as she was jotting between studios. She does do work at formal studios. But a huge bulk of her income comes from working at home, which she just works in her home studio on her schedule. And she's able to separate her careers, and she is able to fund her creative music pursuits through her voiceover work. And she does everything from being the voice on the telephone system when you call, to doing audiobooks, to singing commercials. She does it all. And what she dispenses in this podcast, I'm telling you, is absolute gold. If I was to tell somebody who came to me and wanted to break into the business and wanted to know how to get ahead and how to get a record deal, how to get into voiceovers, just any way to make a living with their voice, this is the episode I would point them to, because as you will see, Liz is hardworking, focused, and dedicated, and she over delivers, and she understands that the business is a huge part of it. So before I just end up talking about the entire podcast, I will present to you Liz Hill. I am here with Liz Hill. Liz, welcome to the Intelligent Vocalist.
as a huge fan of both the Intelligent Vocalist and you, John Henny, I am so honored to be here today.
Oh, that's amazing, because I'm a fan of yours. So I apologize if this turns into like a fan fest here.
Sorry, guys.
But what so impresses me is just your journey as a singer. And you made the move recently from LA to Nashville, and you're pursuing your music career there. But you have also been able to make if I may say, a really good income as a voiceover artist. And that's enabling you to further invest and grow your career. Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. Both doing session singing work. I have a home studio, so it's about 60-40 voiceover work and then session singing. And it's afforded me an incredible lifestyle, as well as the opportunity to invest in my own music and in my own artistry without having to have an endorser or an investor, which is a really cool feeling.
Yeah, because you've done the label thing.
I have, yes. I was signed to a pop deal back in 2014, 2015, and it was amazing. I mean, the label was an indie, but well-funded. I mean, they had me doing awesome things. I was a Billboard artist to watch, and I was an artist of the month for American Airlines. Like, we did some damage. I had 2 songs chart on Billboard, but having the creative freedom to do it on my terms and not need someone to invest in me because I can invest in myself feels so good. Feels so good.
Yeah, it's a different feeling when you're able to take control of your career.
150 million%.
Yeah. And so tell me, what is a typical day like for you?
Well, I recently moved to a farm, so I own a horse farm. I wake up in the morning and my first thought is...
I'm sorry, but let's rewind it. So you just bought your own horse farm.
I did.
From your singing and your voice.
Yes. Yeah. 100%. Everything is funded by the sound. I joke. I say everything is funded with the sounds I make from my face, which at first people think that's a silly thing, but it really is true. I make sounds with my face, and it's been supporting this awesome lifestyle. So I wake up in the morning, I go feed the horses. My horses, it's a straight shot, about, I don't know, maybe 1,000 feet from my barn to my studio. My studio is in my basement. So I walk down there, feed them. Once they're fed, I come up and just start looking at the projects that are on my schedule for the day, plan out which ones I'm going to attack first. I know that to warm up, I shouldn't, if I'm doing session vocals, I shouldn't warm up on a really like aggressive or heavy song. And so I'll just go through what's on my schedule and start knocking things out. I take a break in the afternoon to ride my horses, and then come back in and do some more projects. Some nights are really late. Some nights I work until 2 or 3, but again, it's my own studio, so I can work whenever I want. Not to say that it's very laissez-faire. When I'm in, I'm going for it. And then other days I do sessions here in town. So today I'm actually talking to you guys from my car because I was just in an audiobook session, and I have a filming for my YouTube project in about an hour. So every day is a little bit different, but about 90% of my work is done from home.
So give me a range of what you do within the voiceover world. So you just talked about audiobooks, which is a huge exploding part of the industry. Yes? I
stumbled into audiobooks. What's very funny is that I had been doing a lot of, most of my voiceover work is commercial and corporate and phone systems. I felt more comfortable. My parents own a small business, and ever since I was a kid, I'd pick up the phone and have to sound very professional. Thank you for calling. How may I direct your call? And I realized all the years of sounding fancy picking up the phone actually were playing into a skill that I use every day. I've done phone systems for Lazy Boy, Life is Good. I'm trying to think of other like really, really big companies that I've done their phone systems. Procter & Gamble, I've done work with them. So just, it's really cool. I love calling. Actually, there's a couple really nice restaurants that have done their phone systems, and I forget, and then I call in. I'm like, oh, that's me. Wow. I keep waiting to get put on hold with myself. That is yet to happen, but it's going to happen eventually. ultimate voiceover karma. But yeah, audiobooks I stumbled into, ironically enough. It was an event for BMI. It was a Linda Perry event. She was speaking, and I heard some gentlemen, some gentlemen were talking behind me, and they caught me eavesdropping. And they were involved in the voiceover community and brought me into audiobooks. Very much, it's been so organic, and that's the cool thing about Nashville is the community is very inclusive. So long answer short, I do voiceovers. I do voiceovers. I do audiobooks, a lot of sound systems, a lot of corporate explainer videos, real estate. But I do acting as well. Some children animation for YouTube series. Yeah, it's very diverse. Every single day is different, and that's what keeps it so fun.
And so being able to do this on your own is a relatively new development, because it's always been like to do this in LA, and I've worked with voiceover artists, and it takes a long time to break in. And it's a very tight community that does most of the work. And yet something called the internet happened, and now the opportunity has just exploded. So how is it that you use the internet to start getting all this work?
Yeah, so what's been really interesting to me is that it was both from referrals with other session singers. So I started basically a couple acquaintances of mine and friends of mine are already established in the commercial singing side. So they work with different commercial agencies. And just really organically, when they were so busy with work, they reached out to me on projects that they didn't have the time to fit into their schedule, and gave me an in with those agencies, and those agencies then added me to their stable. There's a couple different internet-based agencies that I basically made a voiceover reel, submitted it, and with a little bit of trial and error, refined my reel and started getting work from all of those agencies. And it's funny, everything kind of splinters off. So as clients, I have certain clients I work with directly. I have certain agencies I work under. I have folks in town that from work that I've built on from the agencies, I was able to improve my reel, send my reel to agencies in town. So it's just kind of been snowballing, I guess is the best answer. But truthfully, the biggest skill that I could even recommend is that having the ability to record myself, not only for practice, but also to produce my own vocals, both session and voiceover, was invaluable. I learned the basics of editing on Pro Tools, and I cannot produce. I'm so terrifyingly bad at MIDI and all of those other things. But when I was signed to my pot deal, my producer taught me how to edit and comp my own vocals, and I had no idea that he was teaching me the skill that would make my living. So a lot of people ask me now, like, how do I get into voiceover? How do I get into session singing? And I say, go buy yourself an interface and get Pro Tools and get a decent mic and start practicing. Because truthfully, the work there's such a huge amount of work if you can self-produce versus being reliant on a producer or a gatekeeper to give you that work.
And so that was one of my key questions is your setup. So do you have, because I know the requirements, let's say for an audiobook or spoken word, that has to be whisper quiet, absolutely no sound. But if you're singing over, on a loud rock track, a little bit of room noise is not going to make or break the track. So
absolutely.
What is your setup in order to control your acoustic environment?
Sure. So what's great about the room that I record in my home studio has irregular walls, and actually the owner before was a CPA. So there's imagine walking into an accountant's office and the type of ceiling that they have, like the typical divoted ceiling. So I walked into this room and thought, oh my gosh, it's perfect. The room diffuses sound by itself. And I have sound treatment up on the walls to just kind of keep things nice and dead. I also have a baby monitor to my horses so I can turn around and watch them eat their food, which honestly, that is the best motivation. Having something that motivates you in your workspace makes you work 10 times harder. So I advise for that. But my setup's really simple. I have a desk with my studio monitors, which they're usually muted because most of the time I'm just working off my cans. I just have really nice headphones. I have a Steinberg interface, of course, a desktop like iMac. and I have actually not a fancy mic, but I sent it out to be modded. So it's a U87 clone. Didn't pay that much for it, but it sounds amazing. And so my mic and my interface and my desktop stay in my studio. My monitors don't leave, but I travel a lot. I have a YouTube project that's starting to get a lot of traction. We travel for filming. I do go back and forth to LA for work. And also, I call voiceover the golden handcuffs because I have clients that need things quickly, and being without access to any sort of recording, it could be not a liability, but if I lose a commercial, that's a big chunk of resource. So I always travel with my travel rig, which I have a laptop, MacBook Pro, an Apollo Duo interface, which honestly is so good. I could replace my stationary interface with that, but I just like it for its portability. And then my mic has a travel case, so I take my same mic with me. And
do you travel with a vocal booth, little portable?
No.
Oh.
No. I say no. So I have my stand has that's a great question. My stand has a windscreen at the back and a pop filter in the front, and I will take those with me. I have like a travel stand, and I'll just try to set up my wind filter and set up my pop screen. If it's really giving me grief, I'll put like a pillow on top of my windscreen. So I don't travel with a booth, but I basically fabricate one to the level that it's quiet enough. And then there's some really great plugins on Pro Tools that can kind of like deaden any superfluous noise that needs to go away.
I'm curious how you keep your voice in tip-top shape, because one of the keys is you talked about people calling up for you to sub in the beginning. You had no idea when that was coming. They happened last minute, and you have to show up vocally on fire.
It's crazy because I have a hair dye-in. I dye my own hair. I have a very vibrant shade of red in my hair. And I had hair dye-in. I was at home. That process, you can't just wash it out. And I got a call from a producer for a kid's, a very well-known kid's toy for a Christmas commercial. And it was like a Kesha-style wrap. And I asked him, how fast do you need it back? I've got hair dye-in. And he said, well, how fast can you get to it? I said, well, I'll rinse my hair out in about an hour. And he said, that's not fast enough. So I ended up with saran wrap over my hair dye so I could put my headphones on and not get hair dye on my headphones. Sometimes the commercial turnarounds are within, that one, they needed it in 30 minutes. Most of the time I have 24 hours to get something back. So I have to be able to rely on my voice. I'm pretty physically active, apart from, working on a horse farm keeps me really, really busy. I try to be very cognizant of my diet. I am pescatarian, so I really try to eat very clean. I drink so much water. I do drink coffee every day, but I generally limit it to 1 cup, and it takes me the whole day to drink it. So I'm not dousing my voice with acid. I'll be honest. I have a history with acid reflux, and it was really, really rough. So that's something I stay on top of. Use antioxidants when I need to. Basically, just really taking care of my body, and sleeping is so important. It's not rocket science, but I haven't missed a session since 2017, and I have not had a cold or a flu since 2017.
That's remarkable.
I don't want to jinx it, but I'm trying to keep my immune system up, because it really, it's so nice when a producer calls me and says, hey, can you do this? You in this world, you have to say yes. And I don't want to work myself to exhaustion, but I can't remember the last time I said no to taking something unless there was a really darn good reason. Because when you say yes and make yourself open to these opportunities, you establish a relationship, and you establish a reputation of being reliable. And I think that's one of the things that helps continue to grow my business as a session singer and voiceover artist, is being reliable, consistent, and turning things in ahead of time. Just basic principles.
So, and when you're working your voice, if you have a heavy load day versus a day where there's not much, is that the lighter day? Is that when you'll kind of do more intense voice work to just make sure you've still got your high belt notes?
I'm going to brag on you, John Henny. You, through being a student of yours, You sincerely taught me how to, a really good gauge on how to not only, you taught me how to really understand my voice. So I can tell when things are getting tired. I know to, as well, when I'm working through a song, say it's got, D's, E's, F's. There's sometimes when a client will send me a song and, the tessitura of the chorus is like E, 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 E. And there's all sorts of vowels going through that I'm like, good God, you didn't make this easy for me. You've basically trained me to be accurate enough that I know I only have to sing it once or twice. I break songs. Strategy has a lot to do with it. So I don't sing when I'm recording. I don't sing the song all the way through. I actually break it up phrase by phrase. Generally, a chorus will be a comp of like 6 different takes. Even sometimes I'll be punching just words here and there. Because for the health of my voice, I know I can't sing something over and over and over and belabor it. I need to be accurate and quick, and that's going to preserve my voice's longevity. So having the facilities and having had the practice, having had the training and education to know my voice and know how to navigate these things, the education I've received from you is invaluable.
I'm going to brag right back because I think one of the keys about you is your work ethic is about as strong as anyone I've worked with. And
Thank
so
you.
you're always prepared. Your lessons, you would always practice, you would drill stuff, you would understand it. And I think that carries over into your success in this business because the mistake that people would make getting into this business, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you don't have it together, if you don't deliver and meet deadlines and show up not on time for sessions, but early, completely prepared, you will be done really quickly. You'll never get started.
I will never forget. I've only been, I keep metrics on my projects, and I have a 99%, I think it's a 99.6% of projects that I deliver ahead of time or on time. And usually if something's not on time, it's because a client either gave me wrong information or, I really strive to be ahead on my deadlines. Also over delivering. If a client just wants a lead vocal, I usually give them harmonies as well. I'll usually give them multiple reads of a voiceover. I'll add, if it's like a phone system and they just wanted the voiceover, I'll put a music bed underneath it just to give them, I try to make sure that every time a client engages with me, commercials, I'll give them, they need 2 takes. Generally speaking, when you're, for commercials, you need 2 to 3 takes of the lead. You need at least 2 to 3 takes of each harmony. I will add extra ad-libs. I'll add extra, just so, nobody's ever mad about having extra files or extra options. It blows my mind. I've had a couple people approach me and ask to either intern with me or ask me to mentor them. And I've been quite frankly disappointed every time at the lack of, they want it, but they don't want to work for it. And so I've actually had to stop. It sucks. If somebody really was intentional, I would totally take on mentees or take on interns, but nobody's proven to me that they wanted it bad enough. And it, that's really what separates the wheat from the chaff is who's willing to work for it.
And after a while, it's really not work. It's just habit.
Yeah. And truthfully, like I tell this to people all the time, especially when I do session vocals. Sometimes I'll be doing vocals for an amateur songwriter or someone who's not doing this. It's not their profession. And they'll express gratitude of like, wow, you brought vision to my song. It's so cool to hear this come together. And I tell them, you're part of the reason why I have the best job in the world. I really truthfully believe that this type of work is some of the best. It's some of the best work. It's an honor and a privilege. And I had attended a vocal seminar with Tim Davis, and he had dressed up so nicely. He was conducting this big seminar. This was in Nashville about a year ago. Seminar of about 120 attendees. He's a very well-known, voice producer, and brings together big choirs for sessions. And
so he's a contractor as well.
Yes, that's the word I was looking
Yes.
for. Thank you. He was talking about how back in the glory days of Hollywood, people would dress up for their sessions, and women would be in gowns and gloves and really had respect for the craft. And that stuck out in my brain. And also he really instilled in me, like, this is the best job in the world. Why would you ever deliver something that's not your best? And so I hear his voice in my head every time I turn in a session. Did I do my best? If I'm showing up in person, do I look presentable? Am I proud of my outfit? Do I feel like I'm presenting myself in a way that shows how much I respect my work? And I just don't. I wish more people would hear him and register that, because it really does make a difference. And I find that my clients appreciate that.
People, if you're listening to this and this is something you want to get into, this advice is absolute gold, because if you are really willing to do the work and show up and be present and positive, the competition really does start to fall away.
It's nuts, John. I was at, so I do also, in addition to this work, I also do a lot of songwriting. I've had, it's really exciting. I've had some songs pitched to some really big artists. There's a lot of good stuff in the works for me on my songwriting aspect. And the nice thing about doing session vocals and voiceover is that I have flexibility to take on co-writes. All that to be said, I go to writers' rounds all the time. I go to, music venues around Nashville all the time, and I'll hear singer-songwriters and I'll go, oh my God, they're incredible. There was a girl at a little restaurant that I heard this weekend, and I thought, she's got vocal chops that slay mine. And I think about so many vocalists who have the talent, but it doesn't register. The business side doesn't register, and they may not enjoy the success in their career that they could very easily have, because the work ethic in the business side is not there. Or they just haven't taken the time to develop that, and it's such an important skill.
I just did a recent podcast on the business side of things. And, and how artists are often at war with business, and they can sometimes think it's beneath them, and the Queen and Elton John movies, the businessmen are the evil ones, they're the villains of the film. But you've got to have the business together.
It's really true. One side, and that's been really interesting, to be honest, is it changed how I look at my own artistry now that I do music as my business, realizing that my artistry very much, that's my creative outlet, but I still have to run that like a business too. Otherwise that's not going to go anywhere. And there's a lot involved. So much has changed. There's so many, I have artists that come to me all the time that, trying to ask me, well, how do I get signed to a label? How do I do this? How do I do that? And I tell them that you have so much power now with the internet, with social media. That's part of the reason why my YouTube project is called Bob and Nancy. And it's been really interesting, because when I lost my pop deal, I lost a huge chunk of audience. And it dawned on me, releasing music without a fan base can hypothetically be like a tree falling in the forest. So doing covers, we release a fully produced video every single week. We are almost up on a year, 52 songs, 52 videos. So in my free time, when I'm done doing my session vocals and my client work, I'm learning a new top 40 cover, recording that, planning. Like I said, I have a video shoot later today. The idea that this project not only has taught me a lot as a musician, but we've built an amazing fan base. We have, I think, over 18K on Instagram, and we had a couple videos go viral on Facebook. So we have 140K fans on Facebook. And knowing that I get to release my music now to a fan base who's excited and engaged and participating, that didn't just happen out of nowhere. It came from a year of hard work, filming, producing, editing, doing all these things every week. But again, people ask me, oh, I want to get signed. Well, do you have a fan base? Do you have people who care about your music? Do you have a product that is engaging and interesting? Do you have content to point people to? All of those things, that's what it takes. It's not, and then even I was spending time with a dear friend this week who's signed to Atlantic, and she's an incredible artist. And she was telling me about how hard she works now that she's signed. People don't necessarily understand that the creative and the work ethic really do have to come together. Otherwise, you're not going to get the results you want.
Amen.
I hope I didn't ramble too much.
How can people find more about you? Because you've got some, you were telling me you've got a new single coming out.
Yes, I'm so excited. So they can go to my website, www.lizannhill.com. It's ANNE. My mom thought it sounded royal, and she said I was a royal pain in the butt as a baby. So that's why there's that obnoxious E on the end of my middle name. Or they can check me out on Instagram, Liz Ann Hill, Facebook, Liz Ann Hill Music. And also, if they want to check out my YouTube project, it's Bob and Nancy. Our real names are Liz and Greg, and we thought what would be more obnoxious than to take what's more basic than Liz and Greg, Bob and Nancy. But we spell it very funny. So it's B0B ampersand NAN-Z, which for marketing purposes, don't ever do that, but it is what it is. So you can find me at Bob and Nancy and Liz Ann Hill. I have a new single called The Desert coming out the 13th, September 13th. If you are listening to this and it's already come out, go check it out. It's the first part of a 4-part music video series that I am so excited to release.
That's fantastic. And I'll put the links on the show notes for the episode. So this is episode 115. So if you just go to johnhenny.com/115, you can find the links to check out Liz and everything that's going on in Lizland.
Talk about putting the work in. Episode 115. That's incredible.
Yeah, well, for something that started off as a lark, yeah. But as you can testify, when I first released this, I get maybe like 28 downloads. You know, I was just doing it just for myself, and I just passed 100,000 downloads.
I saw that in your. I'm seriously like #1 in your fan club. I saw that in your email today and thought, how amazing.
Oh, I think you were one of the first 28.
I was. I totally was. Hey,
yeah.
I'm going to brag on you when you have taught me the skills that allow me to do what I do and live the life that I live, because you're going to cringe, but I literally wouldn't be doing this if it weren't for you. Yeah, of course I'm going to be one of the 28. I
really appreciate that.
Yeah. I mean it sincerely.
Well, thank you so much, Liz, and best wishes for your bright future.
I appreciate it. I appreciate you so much and everything you do to educate the singers of this world.
Thank you. Talk soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
If you want to know more about me, get vocal tips, past episodes of the podcast, or get my teacher training course, just go to my website, johnhenny.com. And if you want to get in touch with Liz, find her website, just go to the show notes for this episode, johnhenny.com/115. Again, thank you so much for listening. And until next time, to better singing. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.